Superman Anatomy Explored, looking into the most bizarre things about the strongest man in the universe. While Superman has changed quite a bit over time, one thing has remained constant: him being the strongest in the universe. Superman's strength comes from his unique alien physiology, which gives him various powers, ranging from a superhuman immune system to X-ray vision and even an enhanced sense of smell. His one-of-a-kind powers are a result of him being the last son of Krypton, as well as his ability to gain energy from the sun. Today, we will explore the most bizarre things about Superman's anatomy in great detail and tell you everything there is to know about the strongest man in the universe. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. The secret behind his incredible strength. When Superman first appeared in DC Comics in 1938, he did not have the ability to fly or his X-ray vision. Instead, he was known for his super strength. Superman's strength was attributed to his alien origins, and it was established that he had so much power because the gravity on Krypton was stronger than on Earth. Since it takes more strength to lift the same mass in high gravity compared to low gravity, Superman's Kryptonian body generated more strength and was more durable. A small leap on Krypton could take as much strength as leaping across various buildings on Earth, which is why Superman's body was a lot more durable and strong due to his early exposure to the Kryptonian environment. After being born and raised for some time on Krypton, his body developed dense bones and stronger muscles, which made him a super powerful being on Earth. However, future adaptations of Superman came with a different explanation and stated that he absorbed energy from the sun in order to gain strength. After writer John Byrne got involved in the Superman comics, the character gained numerous powers that could not be merely attributed to Superman's origins. His story underwent some changes and an alternate explanation, stating that Superman's bodily cells absorbed energy from the Earth's sun was put forth. Since Krypton had a red sun, the writer said that Superman could not realize the full potential of his powers earlier, and he only managed to gain them after absorbing energy from the Earth's yellow sun. This explanation was further carried on in All-Star Superman comics, wherein Superman was depicted as a modern-day sun god. How do his eyes work? Exploring heat vision and other powers. Superman's cells have a lot of stored energy that manifest in various forms in his physique. One example of this would be his deadly blue eyes, which use his cell energy to release solar energy directly through his heat vision. Superman has heat vision due to his exposure to the Earth's yellow sun, a phenomenon as the photonucleic effect. His body receives around 2,800 watts of energy from the sun in just 1 second. The lenses in his eyes then allow him to adjust the aperture of the energy blast depending on how much energy he wishes to use. With just 1 minute of exposure to the sun, Superman's eyes can store and let out a solar beam of up to 168 kilojoules of energy. This energy capacity only keeps on increasing with increased exposure to the sun. After about 5 days of absorbing the sun's energy, Superman's heat vision is powerful enough to even shoot energy in the form of lightning bolts from his eyes. Superman's eye lenses then allow him to widen or adjust the focus of the solar beam to shoot solar-powered laser blasts at his enemies. In one instance in the comics, Superman realized that he could release all of his stored energy at once and even caused a blast as strong as a nuclear bomb explosion. Moreover, Superman can even increase his body's capacity to absorb solar energy by either getting closer to the sun or by expanding his body's surface area. Besides heat vision, Superman also has X-ray vision, allowing him to see through various materials, including human flesh. X-rays are visible light waves with a short wavelength, and they interact with matter differently than regular light. While Superman's eyes can detect X-ray lights, he needs a source of X-ray in his body to detect them. Since there are no natural X-ray sources available for superheroes, there is a question raised about how Superman's X-ray vision really works. Some theories suggest that he uses MRI images or even cell phone signals to fuel his X-ray vision, but these suggestions are not scientifically plausible. He can survive without his heart beating. Superman's physiology is among the most unique physiologies of all time, and he is invulnerable to human ailments. Besides this, he could even survive without a beating heart and stop his heart whenever he wishes to play dead to trick his opponents. Though he cannot fully function without a beating heart, Superman could stop his heart for long periods and then start it back again, since his body does not require blood circulation in order to survive. Superman had even stopped his heart for several days at once in one comic book instance. He also used this trick when he had to pretend to be dead during medical exams and often used it to escape Lex Luthor, among other enemies. All about the pink kryptonite and its effect on Superman. While there are a lot of jokes surrounding the existence of pink kryptonite that turns Superman gay, this kryptonite only really appeared in one comic panel in the Supergirl comics. It all started when the pre-crisis Supergirl, who was destined to die, showed up in the regular DC universe. To prevent her death, the Supergirl of the regular universe offered to take her place and then return to the pre-crisis Earth. This Supergirl stayed on Earth for about 3 years when she came across Superman and fell in love with him. Since the two were not related, this version of Supergirl married Superman, and the superhero then came into contact with the pink kryptonite. While Superman marries a girl in these comics, writer Peter David jokes about how the pink stuff turns the Man of Steel gay, and then he starts noticing Jimmy Olsen's fashion sense. This gave rise to ongoing gags and fan fiction surrounding a gay Superman, and furthermore, the current Superman in the comics, John Kent, is also portrayed as bisexual. While it is not canon that pink kryptonite has this effect on Superman, it was implied as a joke in the Supergirl comics long back in 2003, and this joke continues for decades. Can Superman, being a Kryptonian, reproduce with humans? While Superman does have kids in various storylines, some comic arcs show a different version of the superhero wherein he cannot reproduce with humans due to his Kryptonian origins. Superman's ability to reproduce with humans varies across story arcs, and he did have a son with Lois Lane in the 2006 Superman Returns movie. In the comics, Clark and Lois have a son named Jonathan Kent, who was conceived during the Convergence story arc. During this storyline, Kent and Lane from a previous version of the DC Universe were trapped on a planet where Superman's powers were suppressed. They conceived a child, who later grew up to have superpowers and is now the new Superboy. The comic writers have further established that the Silver Age Superman can have children with humans, and he even has various children with humans in imaginary stories outside the main continuity. In the Arrowverse, Kent and Lane travel to Argo City, a remnant of Superman's home planet Krypton. They primarily go there since Argo City orbits around the Red Sun, which seems to be a condition for Superman to be able to conceive a child in the Arrowverse. However, in the TV series Lois and Clark, Superman could not reproduce with Lane, which was also the case in the post-crisis storylines. A particular instance in the DC Comics shows that Kryptonians had reproductive compatibility with the people from the planet Daxam. After the Kryptonian explorer Daxam first discovered this planet, one of the Kryptonian scientists traveled to Earth and then conceived a child with an Earthling. While this is no concrete proof about all Kryptonians' ability to reproduce with humans, it can be established that Superman has fathered children in the past and is capable of breeding with humans. Superman even expects a child with Wonder Woman in the Kingdom Come comics and later has many children with her. When Superman and Wonder Woman had a passionate moment in the skies. Superman and Wonder Woman were in a relationship in the New 52, and they had been together multiple times after the DC rebirth. Superman had once even bought an engagement ring for her, but Jeff Jones and his minions ruined her plans. They once reignited their passionate relationship by getting intimate in the skies in the Dark Knight Strikes Again comic book by Frank Miller and Lynn Varley. Their shared moment even results in the Earth moving a little, and this scene went on for 5 pages in the comic book, which later became somewhat controversial. In the alternate realities, Superman and Wonder Woman shared a relationship in various story arcs and even had children in many of them. In the Justice League Beyond, they had a child named Urzad who was raised in the Phantom Zone by Jar-Ur. In the Superman Distant Fire story arc, the two have a child named Bruce Kent. In various other realities, the two had children named Lara Kent, Jonathan, and Hyperstorm, and they even had 4 unnamed children in the Kingdom Come comics. Since there are many inconsistencies in the DC universe across Earth 1, Earth 2, Post-Crisis Earth, and the multiverse, Superman and Wonder Woman's relationship has also been quite tumultuous across story arcs, and they play different roles in each other's lives across the DC multiverse. Superman's amazing healing abilities and immune system. In a bizarre sequence of events, Superman once suffered from a severe kryptonite poisoning, and various superheroes such as Atom, Superboy, and Steel shrunk themselves to enter his body and come up with a solution to the poisoning. They discovered that there were complete nuclear processes taking place within the superhero's body, and that his cells worked in smooth machinery to self-perpetuate constantly. Superman had a strong immune system that ensured that these nuclear processes went smoothly. Besides a robust immune system, Superman also possessed a healing factor that helped him fight against the occasional kryptonite and magic attacks that weakened his body. He also used his healing factor to defend his body from human ailments, diseases, or toxins. His Kryptonian origins had also blessed him with some ability to accelerate healing, but the extent to which he could heal his injuries differed across comics. In Action Comics, Superman was bound to an electric chair, and he used his healing factor to repair his bodily tissues as and when they got destroyed. In another comic instance, Superman healed his throat after it had been cut open by Wonder Woman. While Superman's healing powers don't match Wolverine's or Deadpool's superior regenerative abilities, he definitely does possess a healing factor. Moreover, in some comic storylines, he does have the ability to regenerate himself. What makes him vulnerable to kryptonite? Initially, Superman was portrayed as an untouchable being who could not be destroyed by anything. However, after the Byrne reboot, the Man of Steel was shown to be vulnerable to kryptonite. Kryptonite is just a regular harmless rock on the planet Krypton, but only until it lies under Krypton's red sun. When the rock is exposed to the Earth's yellow sun, it turns bright green and becomes a lethal radioactive rock. In the world's finest comics, Superman swallows kryptonite dust, which then causes him to lose his powers. In another storyline, the superhero's opponents use kryptonite as a weapon to knock him out. After various such instances, an explanation for Superman's vulnerability to kryptonite was finally provided in the Brave and the Bold series. He gets his powers from the Earth's yellow sun, and this solar energy affects his body on a molecular level and makes it dense and impenetrable. However, kryptonite gives off radioactive particles that are tiny enough to pass through his body and then end up getting trapped in its dense molecular structure. Once these kryptonite particles are trapped within Superman's body, they prove to be lethal to him and can even annihilate him. One explanation for this is that when kryptonite's powers activate within his body, Superman's Kryptonian physiology gets tuned to the kryptonite radiation and begins absorbing it. This radiation starts clashing with Superman's ability to draw powers from the Earth's sun, which eventually results in poisoning. His DNA is extremely difficult to clone. While the reign of the Superman arc in the 1990s introduced 4 fake Supermen that claimed to be the real one, it is actually quite tricky to clone his DNA or genetically create a different version of Superman in a laboratory. One of the 4 fake Supermen was a reckless Superboy who discovered that he was the superhero's clone created during Project Cadmus. Even though Cadmus managed to make one clone, this clone soon left his lab and then decided it was much easier to just clone himself. Cadmus then engineered this clone to look like Superman and gave him powers such as telekinesis. Superman's impenetrable cells made it impossible to extract his DNA, and it was challenging to clone him even if he was dead. Superman also has an unbelievable super sense of smell. Superman has enhanced sensory powers which enable him to hear something even if it is 1,000 miles away, and even pick up on smells coming from a source far away. In the Superboy comics, Superman, as Super Baby, once causes trouble on a different side of the world, and Martha Kent then uses his ability to smell things to her advantage. She makes a batch of Super Baby's favorite pancakes, and the smell of these immediately causes Super Baby to rush back home. Superman's enhanced senses worked without any distance constraints, and sound waves, as well as smell molecules, reached him even from halfway across the world. While some theories state that Superman has this ability due to his constitution, some fans believe that his sensory power should be treated as a psi ability.
Unbelievable. I'm eating Kryptonian food.
Does Superman need to sleep or eat? While Superman does not essentially need to sleep in order to survive, a lack of REM sleep has a severe impact on his judgment and bodily functioning. In the Superman comics, the evil alien group known as the Superman Revenge Squad used this weakness against Supergirl and zapped her into a state of sleep deprivation. She then started losing her senses and even tried to get rid of Superman. In another instance in Action Comics, Superman does not get sleep for nearly 3 weeks and eventually ends up having a personality breakdown. He even adopts a new identity that tries to murder Clark Kent. After Superman returns to his senses, a strange entity eventually tells him that while he does not need to sleep like humans, he does need to sleep in order to maintain his mental health and find an outlet in his dreams. When it comes to food, Superman does not essentially require food or water to gain energy, since he already has an energy source in the form of the Earth's sun. However, he was raised among humans and he has learned to consume 3 regular meals a day while living with Martha and Jonathan Kent. While Superman consumes human food and is especially known for his love of hamburgers, his body does not function the same way as humans and does not need to get rid of any bodily waste. He could also consume poisonous food without any fear of organ failure or food poisoning. Superman still doesn't know the true abilities of his body. While Superman is near invincible, he himself is quite unaware of the true extent of his powers and abilities. The Action Comics highlighted Superman's ignorance towards his strengths, wherein the superhero states that something as small as a bursting shell can also hurt him. Till he hadn't learned that bursting shells could not harm his body, Superman believed that they could harm him. In the Kryptonite novel, creator Darwin Cook used the same premise to show how Superman worries that any encounter with a foreign object could be the thing that finally kills him. He seems concerned about exposure to lava and even liquid nitrogen until he eventually learns that these things cannot harm him. In the New Adventures of Superboy, Clark Kent pushes his limits and learns new secrets such as the effect of the red sun's exposure on his body. While Superman has been around for ages, he still continues to push his limits and learn new things about his body. In the Superman comics, the Man of Steel finally learns that he could release all of his stored solar energy to cause a massive flare-up. Some of the things other than kryptonite that could kill Superman. While Superman gets his energy from the Earth's yellow sun, he has to especially stay away from the red sun's rays, as they have the capacity to hinder his powers and weaken him to a great extent. While the red suns and its rays were the primary sources of energy around the planet Krypton, Superman had spent his life absorbing the Earth's yellow sun rays, and exposure to the red sun's radiation could even kill him. Superman can also be killed by his evil counterpart Cyborg Superman, who matches the superhero in terms of powers. The most recent cyborg, Zor-El, even possesses Superman's heat vision, shape-shifting powers, and even the ability to fly, and it is entirely possible for Superman to get overpowered by him. However, the very first cyborg, Hank Henshaw, is a lot more threatening, and he even possesses the same DNA as Superman. Moreover, Hank was also on the board of directors at Sinestro Corps and had an array of weapons at his disposal. One of these weapons was the yellow power ring that could create just about any object or weapon that could aid Hank in defeating Superman. One of Superman's weaknesses also lies in his conscience, as he cannot bring himself to abandon a situation or cut ties with dangerous forces. He is also known for his restraint in unleashing his powers to their full extent, and he usually hesitates before putting them to use. While Superman knows he could pretty much destroy the whole world if he wishes to, he treads carefully around his powers and is also fearful of himself. Though he is an incredibly powerful being, Superman's conscience makes him quite vulnerable to his enemies. Superman's opponents can also defeat him by using kryptonite to take control of his mind and weaken his abilities. Since Superman has a weak mental firewall, it is pretty easy to hack into his Kryptonian mind and take control of his actions. This has put Superman under challenging situations in various comics. Moreover, mind control could also result in Superman's death if someone as strong as the Martian Manhunter decides to take control of the superhero's mind and program it to self-destruct. Even the most invulnerable superheroes like Superman are not immune to the power of magic at the end of the day. The Man of Steel is quite defenseless against magical spells, and he has often been defeated by Shazam on numerous occasions. While Shazam had only left Superman in a catatonic state, he is an easy target for more advanced magic tricks that can seriously affect his body and even render him powerless. Conclusion. To sum it up, Superman is one of the most unique anatomies in the history of superheroes, and he is virtually undefeatable with a wide array of powers by his side. While we covered many important aspects of his physiology, Superman's abilities know no limits, and there are still a lot of other things that could still be explored even after all this discussion. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.
I understand.